city council, and even when we did the temporary, it was a big discussion, and we got traffic counts and different things. And I understand safety for our police department. I think we should include the sheriff's department if they need to be coming into that location, because you're talking about putting an armed gate down eventually. I understand the bike path, that contract's until 2028. Jeremy talked about that in the minutes. But it's a public road, and I really think there needs to be a lot of dotting I's and crossing T's like we did when we did Crawford Street. And because we ended up doing it, Rob, as a 1-year trial, and then we came back and said, hey, what's the heartburn? Is there any? Okay, we're good. And then I don't know if there was a piece of legislation after that or not, but I think it's really important, because typically what you do in traffic commission is assign, checking speeds, you know, I don't want to say no big deal things, but not things that could cause the public heartburn.
Mr. Martin.
So all safety services are included in this for fire, sheriff's office, HAMCO, anybody that would be responding through that area that actually has a purpose to be in there. But to your point, all we're recommending right now is to gather data, so then we can actually look at it moving forward. Now, when that data is collected, if we take it back to Traffic Commission, and a recommendation might be to go to a committee, a different committee, I'm willing to have that, but we're just trying to gather data.
Mr. Findlay.
And I think, to answer your very first question, I think the committee would have procedurally the ability to make a temporary recommendation to run those numbers, and then if ultimately the recommendation was for to close it down or whatever the case may be, then that's what you're going to see come to council with legislation.
Mr. Wilson.
I'd make a motion that council asks Traffic Commission if they, after the 90-day period, whenever that's done, Rob, that Traffic Commission come back to council for approval one way or if you want to go forward with this after the trial, that Traffic Commission come back for specific council approval. And that's a motion.
Second, Mr. Greeno. All those in favor of his motion for the 90-day, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay?
Nay.
Okay. All right. All those,
No, I wanted it to committee. No, I wanted it to go to committee like we did.
all those, I need a motion to approve the traffic committee.
So moved.
Second, Mr. Baumann. Additional questions? All those in favor of the traffic commission minutes, say aye. Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
The minutes are.
Okay, next.
Just real quick, make sure to use your mics and speak up. They're using the ambient noise because for some reason our microphones are not feeding into the live stream. So just make sure you're speaking up, please. A letter from City Engineer Cal regarding Han Lina Avenue resurfacing, PID 122980, project number 32853-300.
Questions or comments? Letter be filed.
Income Tax Board minutes of May 7th, 2025.
Questions or comments? Minutes to be filed.
City Planning Commission agenda for June 12th, 2025.
Questions or comments? Agenda be filed.
Letter from Human Resource Director Hazlett regarding 2024 employee survey results.
Questions or comments? Letter to be filed.
A letter from City Engineer Cal regarding capital improvement appropriation of 2025.
Questions or comments? Letter to be filed.
Letter from Chief of Police Matthias regarding Ohio Attorney General Law Enforcement Continuing Professional Training Grant.
Questions or comments? Letter to be filed.
There are actually 2 letters of that. Letter from Service Safety Director Martin regarding electric supply agreement.
Questions or comments? Mr. Stashek.
Mr. Record, although it said it was copied, I did not receive it until the council packet.
Other questions or comments? Mr. Russell.
Bob, you want to take some time to add any commentary or discuss the process and where we're at and the timing for this legislation.
So this is a standard process that we do based on how long the contract actually is. This went through the formal bidding process with our energy consultants. This is specifically for city-owned properties. This is the retail for city. This is not the community aggregate. So we have a couple different things going on, different timing. The gas aggregate is another one, and that's coming up in October of this year. And then the electric aggregate for the community is next spring in 26. So, but this is specific for the city of Findlay owned properties. And as you can see that we've had a really good rate for quite a while, a little over 6 cents per kilowatt hour. And then with the bidding process, looking at different scenarios, different lengths of contracts, the 36-month contract gave us a really good price point. Compared, I mean, we're going up, you're looking 3 decimal points out where you're seeing the variability. But being able to lock in a little over 6 cents a kilowatt hour for the next 3 years, understanding what the utility markets already told us they're going to do in June, where it's going to go north of 9 cents per kilowatt hour. This is a good cost savings opportunity and budget planning process for us, for the city of Findlay. So that's the recommendation. Our consultants have done a very nice job over the years giving us good guidance. I included a graph that actually showed the performance, the fixed rate performance, as well as all the different options that we worked through. So I did in my letter request that the council rules are suspended and this gets 3 readings tonight for the specific reason that the rate is only good for a 24-hour period. So when I put this into the council packet Friday, I waited till Friday to get those numbers. Those were good for a 24-hour period. Now I did have that conversation. What's it look like 4 or 5 days later? And they said the needle's not moving significantly. It's still going to be in that 6 cent range. You might see a little bit of a movement on that 3rd or 4th decimal point to keep it simple. So that's the request, and again, it's locked in for 36 months.
Mr. Stashek. Quick question, Rob. Since you're looking to get this passed tonight, does this rate apply to our peak usage at both the water and sewer plant facilities, and that will get that rate for the same period of time, or is that a different schedule?
Nope, that is included. And in the packet it included all the addresses for every site, because it's lift stations and other things like that, so.
Later to be filed. Committee reports.
Add-on committee report for the Strategic Planning Committee that met on May 30th, 2025 to discuss operational financial forecast. We recommend no recommendation.
Mr. Wilson.
Make a motion to approve the committee report.
Second, Mr. Palmer. Discussion. All those in favor of the committee report say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Committee report is adopted.
The Strategic Planning Committee met on May 30th, 2025 to discuss community reinvestment. We recommend that the mayor move forward with changes to the pre-1994 CRA, updating the specific boundaries. Also, get an update and details on, cannot read that word,
Sunsetting.
sunsetting of current CRA and establishment of a post-1994 CRA.
Mr. Wilson.
Make a motion to approve.
Second, Mr. Palmer. Discussion. All those in favor of the report say aye. No. Say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
It is adopted.
Nope, not done. Sorry. The Strategic Planning Committee met on May 30, 2025 to discuss the income tax incentive. We recommend that Mayor continue to move forward with development of a tax incentive program.
Mr. Wilson.
Motion to approve.
Second, Mr. Baumann. Discussion. All those in favor of the report say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay.
Nay.
Report is adopted.
One more. The Strategic Planning Committee met on May 30th, 2025 to discuss the development agreements. We recommend no recommendation.
Mr. Wilson.
One more time. Motion to approve.
Second, Mr. DeArmond. Discussion.
That report is not signed by any member.
Maybe I shouldn't have included it,
Copies.
the last one. Should I gather?
I'll remove my motion to approve, okay? We'll just let it go.
We'll include it in the next pack.
No need,
Maybe to just let it go.
Okay.
I didn't even catch that.
Ready for legislation? Ready? Legislation. We have no resolutions, ordinances.
Third reading for ordinance number 2025-47, an ordinance appropriating and transferring funds and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Palmer,
Move to adopt ordinance number 2025-47.
second Mr. Greeno. Discussion, Ms. Fishy.
Since this ordinance is doing general fund money as well as insurance payment for a police car, I'm going to vote no on it tonight, but the reason I'm going to vote no on it is because I think there's not a rush for it, since our officer does have he's driving a spare vehicle for the last year, and I think it might behoove us to wait to Q4 to see if we can get a better price on that vehicle at the end of the year.
All those in favor of the ordinance, say aye. Your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Baumann?
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Nay.
Mr. Greeno? Aye. Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
And Mr. Wolfson?
The ordinance is adopted.
Third reading for ordinance number 2025-49, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or service safety director of the city of Findlay, Ohio to purchase 4 new radio-based stations utilized by the city of Findlay Police Central Dispatch, appropriating and transferring funds thereto, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Hellman,
Yes, I'd move to approve ordinance 2025-049.
second Mr. Palmer. Discussion. All those in favor of the ordinance, say aye. Your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfson?
Aye.
Mr. Baumann?
Aye.
Ordinance is adopted.
Third reading for ordinance number 2025-50, an ordinance appropriating funds and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Greeno,
Move for adoption of ordinance number 2025-050.
second Mr. Baumann. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor of the ordinance, say aye. Your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfson?
Aye.
Mr. Baumann?
Aye.
And Mr. DeArmond?
Aye. The ordinance is adopted.
Third reading for ordinance number 2025-51, an ordinance appropriating funds and declaring an emergency.
Mr. DeArmond,
Make a motion to adopt ordinance 2025-051.
second Mr. Greeno. Discussion. All those in favor of the ordinance, say aye. Your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfson?
Aye.
Mr. Baumann?
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted.
Third reading for ordinance number 2025-53, an ordinance authorizing the mayor, service safety director, and/or city engineer of the city of Findlay, Ohio to advertise for bids where required and enter into contracts for construction of various projects in accordance with the 2025 department equipment list, appropriating and transferring funds for said capital expenditures and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Wilson,
Make a motion to approve.
second Mr. Baumann. Discussion. All those in favor of the ordinance, say aye. Your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfson?
Aye.
Mr. Baumann?
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
And Mr. Greeno.
Aye. The ordinance is adopted.
Third reading for ordinance number 2025-56, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute the attached memorandum of agreement by and between the city of Findlay, Ohio, and the Maumee Watershed Conservancy District and declared an emergency.
Mr. Palmer,
I move that ordinance number 2025-056 be approved.
second Mr. DeArmond. Discussion. All those in favor of the ordinance, say aye. Your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfson?
Aye.
Mr. Baumann?
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
And Mr. Hellman.
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted.
Third reading for ordinance number 2025-59, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Findlay, Ohio to enter into a purchase agreement for the acquisition of property located on Clinton Street, Findlay, Ohio, appropriating and transferring funds and declaring an emergency.
Mr. DeArmond.
Move to approve ordinance 2025-059.
Second, Mr. Hellman. Discussion. All those in favor of the ordinance say aye after name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfson?
Aye.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
And Mr. Niemeyer.
Aye. The ordinance is adopted.
Second reading for ordinance number 2025-62. An ordinance amending chapter 1100 et sec of the codified ordinances of the city of Findlay, Ohio, known as the zoning code, by zoning the following described property as R2 medium lot residential, hereinafter referred to as the Weaver 6434, County Road 18, annexation. Second reading for ordinance number 2025-63. An ordinance accepting and approving an application for annexation of territory situated in the Township of Marion, County of Hancock, State of Ohio, and being a part of the northwest quarter of Section 5, Township 1 North, Range 11 East, a tract of land consisting of 1.480 acres of land, more or less, hereinafter referred to as the Weaver 6434, County Road 18, annexation. Second reading for ordinance number 2025-64. An ordinance amending chapter 1100 et sec of the codified ordinances of the city of Findlay, Ohio, known as the zoning code, by tax parcel numbers 330000080052, parcel A, 330001008163, 330001018295, 330001002425, and 330001009345, parcel B, totaling 18.160 acres as PO Parks and Open Space, and R2 medium lot residential, hereinafter referred to as the Barfell Hobart Avenue annexation, parcels A and B. Second reading for ordinance number 2025-65, an ordinance accepting and approving an application for annexation of territory situated in the Township of Marion, County of Hancock, State of Ohio, and being a part of the southeast quarter of Section 30, Township 1 North, Range 11 East, a tract of land consisting of 18.150 acres of land, more or less, hereinafter referred to as the Barfell Hobart Avenue annexation, parcels A and B. Second reading for ordinance number 2025-66. An ordinance authorizing the mayor, service safety director, and/or city engineer of the city of Findlay, Ohio, to waive formal advertising and bidding requirements and enter into contracts with Smith Paving and Excavating Incorporated for roadway concrete work and resurfacing of streets outlined in the 2024 annual street resurfacing plan, project number 328-50300, removing Walnut Street from Crystal Avenue to Blanchard Street, and instead resurface the south end of Foxfire Lane and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Russell.
Question for Mr. King, is Smith Paving and Excavating, they're already in town working on other things, so that I'm assuming they are ready to go if this becomes available to them?
Correct. Yeah, correct. They are in town. They're putting concrete down. If this gets fast, then they can get this on the schedule a little bit sooner. And I mean, they are moving as quick as they can on this project.
Mr. Russell.
For that reason, I move that council statutory rules be suspended and ordinance 2025-066 be given its third reading.
Second, Mr. Niemeyer. All those in favor of suspension of the rules say aye after name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Russell? Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfson? Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye. Rules of council have been suspended and the clerk will give this ordinance its third reading.
Ordinance number 2025-66.
Mr. Wolfson.
Make a motion to approve.
Second, Mr. Everybody. Mr. DeArmond, discussion. All those in favor of the ordinance say aye after name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfson?
Aye.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
The ordinance is adopted.
First reading for ordinance number 2025-68, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Findlay, Ohio to accept permanent ownership of 2 properties totaling 2 parcels from the Hancock County Board of County Commissioners as required under FEMA-DR-4424-OH and FMA fiscal year 2018 to the city of Findlay, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Ms. Fisher?
I have a question, Rob Feitner. So these 2 parcels, Wilson Street's a residential lot on a dead-end road. I don't even know what we would do with it. The other one is East Sandusky, just east of the railroad tracks, before you get to the Fern. Are we required to take these parcels? Because right now we can't build on them, but will we be able to build on them after the updated flood maps are done?
That's a very big question. I don't
I
know,
always have big questions.
I don't know if that's so much as something that I can answer as a law director for what we're gonna do with these properties. I know Steve Wilson was involved with this. The mayor may have more on it.
Mayor?
So these 2 properties, as stated in the letter, do have deed restrictions on them, so they cannot be built on. They could, however, and one of the things that I've been talking to FEMA about, the local state representative, is about allowing the neighboring property owners to have them or utilize them as part of their property just as green space. Because at least the small Wilson Street parcel, because it's like at the back of somebody's property. With the Sandusky Street, again, no, we really wouldn't be able to build on, and I wouldn't be an advocate to build on it given that it was acquired as part of the flood mitigation efforts. It's really probably just going to have to be turned into green space, maybe some trees, different things like that. We could potentially look at turning it into parking if development happened around it, but right now it's really just about cleaning up the properties between city and county ownership. I would say it's kind of like being a good neighbor with the county. It doesn't make sense for them to be driving around to random properties in the city with their staff when we can maintain them and potentially work with neighbors to be able to have them be semi-usable space.
Ms. Fisher?
So you kind of hit the nail on the head for me when I saw, this green space lot, maybe a neighbor would take ownership of it. Same thing with East Sandusky. There is a business that sits back. Maybe they would want additional parking. Maybe the Fern could use the additional parking. It's within walking distance. So why do we have to take ownership? Why can the commissioners not take it to auction?
It has to maintain public ownership because of the FEMA restrictions on it. So even with the Wilson Street property, my understanding at this point in time is that we would pretty much have to do a land lease with the property owner. We would still have to maintain ownership of it.
Because of the FEMA, okay.
Mr. Stashak?
Over our due diligence, has the county explored putting out for bid a land lease on those properties to see if someone in the public will take care of them so we don't have to? Same principle, but with ownership retained by the county.
I do not believe they've done that, primarily because I believe this has kind of been the plan over the years, is that all the flood-owned acquired properties in the city would come to the city trying to keep them again protected for flood mitigation. So I do not believe, but the county is the one that reached out requesting us take ownerships, and the county commissioners, is my understanding, have already passed the resolution to transfer them to the city.
Okay, next.
First reading for ordinance number 2025-69, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept permanent ownership of 4 properties from the Hancock County Board of County Commissioners as part of continued flood mitigation efforts.
Ms. Fisher?
So the ordinance says 2026-069, and then my new questions, and it'll probably go to the mayor over the law director, it sounds like. So looking at East Front Street, again, that's parking lot space that somebody's utilizing, and these are not FEMA, these don't have the FEMA FMA FY18s on them. So why could the commissioners not sell those? I mean, there's a lot of automotive business back there on front. And then Howard Street, when I pull that parcel, it's owned by Cartridge World and not even owned by the commissioners. So how are we dealing with that?
Mayor?
Yeah, so on the Cartridge World, that was part of the parcel that they've gone through all the process. Evidently, the paperwork just never was updated with the county auditor for it to be updated. So Phil Johnson is taking care of that update. But all the paperwork for ownership transfer has occurred.
And is that building empty?
It's not. It's
Mill
it's
Street
it's the benching portion. It's not an actual building. It's a small sliver.
So when it says 615 Howard, it's not the building that says 615 Howard.
No, it sits just south of
No,
that
it's just
property.
like this small triangle of property.
The north part of the benching, phase
Yeah,
one
so
benching.
it's just flood mitigation property at this point in time.
Okay, so it's not closer.
Yeah, on the properties on East Front Street, again, the county commissioners were the ones that approached us about taking these properties. They've already passed a resolution to transfer them. You are correct that they do not have deed restrictions on them through FEMA, so I just wanted to note that because though that is listed on the agenda as FEMA properties, they're not FEMA properties. They were just acquired as part of local flood mitigation. So I would state that the goal with the city taking them on is to be able to work with properties in that area to make sure that this is utilized properties while also protecting the integrity of what the flood mitigation dollars were for, which is to make sure that any development that would occur there is not going to impede flood mitigation. Really right now, it would be kept as the gravel parking lot because it is porous, and so it is better for that
And it
area.
has restrictions as well.
And it does not have any FEMA restrictions.
Mr. Station,
If I recall, these properties in particular on East Front Street were identified as former junkyards. So if that is indeed the case, which I am 99% sure that it is, they should not be taken into our possession without a phase two.
Ms. Fishy,
So my last question is the 817 East Main Cross. So I think that's a great area for our putting like green space park, maybe disc golf, things like that that's been talked about. But we're only taking one. So out of all the parcels in that area, are they just giving you cookies?
No, so a bunch of those properties we've already passed legislation for them to transfer to us. And then some of them are ours, and then the other ones they are working on transferring to us. So on East Main Cross Street, that area, I agree that it's a great opportunity for some additional green space development. You know, the neighborhood had some concerns about disc golf or different things kind of increasing foot traffic. One of the things that I'm exploring right now in partnership with the Blanchard Valley Watershed Partnership, as well as the Toledo Zoo Native Plant Program, is actually looking at putting like a pollinator and a native plant garden and walking paths through there, because it is about a 2-acre area that we would be able to do something like that. So we're having some preliminary conversations, but no, we are working with the commissioners to transfer all of these. Unfortunately, they had kind of on their side done it wonky, and so they're trying to get our approvals to match up with some of their approvals.
So this is the last parcel, because it's like the parcel before is transferred, parcel after.
I think there are 3 other parcels along that area that are still owned by the commissioners, and they're working to get the legislation in front of the commissioners to transfer to us.
okay, next.
First reading for ordinance number 2025-70, an ordinance authorizing mayor, service safety director, and/or city engineer of the city of Findlay, Ohio, to apply for and execute the necessary grant applications and project agreement through the Ohio Department of Transportation to receive grant funds from the Federal Highway Administration for the resurfacing of Lima Avenue from Gray Street to west side of Carlin Street, project number 32853300, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Wilson. This is a standard grant process from the state of Ohio, and we are simply accepting the grant to help pave this large section of street. We would make a motion that council statutory rules be suspended, and this ordinance be given its second and third reading.
Second, Mr. Baumann. All those in favor of suspension of the rules, say aye. After your name is called, those opposed, nay.
Mr. Wobser?
Aye.
Mr. Baumann?
Aye.
Mr. Diarmid?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
Mr. Bruno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
And Ms. Warnicki?
Rules of council been suspended and the clerk will give this ordinance its second and third reading.
Ordinance number 2025-70, ordinance number 2025-70.
Mr. Bottom.
Move for adoption of ordinance number 2025-70.
Second, Mr. Hellman. Discussion. All those in favor of the ordinance say aye if your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Bowman?
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
Mr. Greeno? Aye. Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
And Mr. Wobser?
The ordinance is adopted.
First reading for ordinance number 2025-71, an ordinance authorizing the mayor, service safety director, and/or city engineer of the city of Findlay, Ohio, to advertise for bids where required and enter into contracts for construction of various projects in accordance with the 2025 Department Equipment List, appropriating and transferring funds for said capital expenditures and declaring an emergency. First reading for ordinance number 2025-72, an ordinance appropriating funds and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Palmer.
Since this is just a grant money going straight to the police department, I move that council statutory rules be suspended and this ordinance be given its second and third reading.
Second, Mr. DeArmond. All those in favor of suspending the rules say aye if your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
Mr. Wobser?
Aye.
Mr. Baumann?
Aye. Rules of council have been suspended. The clerk will give this ordinance its second and third reading.
Ordinance number 2025-72. Ordinance number 2025-72.
Mr. Palmer.
Move to approve ordinance number 2025-072.
Second, Mr. Greeno. All those in favor say aye if your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Frisch, oh my goodness, Ms. Frishy? Aye. Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
Mr. Wobser?
Aye.
Mr. Baumann?
Aye.
And Mr. DeArmond?
Aye. The ordinance is adopted.
First reading for ordinance number 2025-73, an ordinance authorizing the service safety director of the city of Findlay, Ohio to enter into an electricity purchase contract master service agreement for the city of Findlay's electric supply procurement for the city-owned properties with Interstate Gas Supply LLC and declaring an emergency.
Ms. Warnicki.
Based on the reasons that Rob gave before, I would make a motion to suspend the rules and give this its second and third reading.
Second, Mr. Palmer. All those in favor of suspending the rules say aye if your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Greeno? Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
Mr. Wobser?
Aye.
Mr. Baumann?
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
Rules of council have been suspended and the clerk will give this ordinance its second and third reading.
Ordinance number 2025-73. Ordinance number 2025-73.
Mr. Wobser.
Make a motion to approve.
Second, Ms. Warnicki. Discussion. Mr. Station.
Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, this is the first I'd seen this agreement, even though it was noted that I was copied on it. For Mr. Finer, this is a contract. I don't see a fiscal officer certificate attached to it. And also in a quick rough read of the agreement, I don't see a cap here, but I do see damages that are unspecified other than formulaic. Should those two things be addressed prior to this agreement being executed?
Not being prepared for that question, right?
Yeah, I didn't want blinds.
I would be glad to give you a written statement on that, a legal opinion, or whatever you'd like. We can talk through that. It's the first reading.
Station.
Now they're thinking to pass it down.
Oh, that's
So, Rob, I didn't do that to put you on the spot. I just want to make sure. I think they have to have it, and I think the damages have to be specified and outlined. You can take a look, and obviously I'll go by what you decide, but I just want to make sure it's on the record that that price should be resolved prior to this agreement being executed.
if it's a concern of the auditor, I mean, we can look into that, and maybe it's appropriate to lift the emergency part of this here tonight.
Mr. Martin.
I didn't have my hand raised. However, really don't have a comment for that other than we are subject for the rates to be changed, and I'll work with the law director tomorrow to make sure this proper language is in the contract that mitigates our risk.
Ms. Frishy.
I guess Auditor Stashak, do we usually do all of that? Like when we do our community contracts, we have to have all that too?
Mr. Stashak, the way it's been described to me, again, I'm not an attorney. Our attorney has told me very specifically, if your fiscal officer certificate is not in place, it is not a valid contract, with few exceptions. And this is a significant sized agreement. So one is there, but more importantly, the damages clause is something that we need to have a handle on if we're going to pay this. I can't sign or authorize unlimited damages.
So, Law Director Feitner, do we need to amend this to say whatever that is in order for it to move forward to meet the deadline for Mr. Martin? Or are you just gonna go and wing it that you're gonna do that and we'll be good?
The law director never wings anything, it's not appropriate.
But do we need to amend it to say something specific to what the auditor wants in order to be able to move forward for Mr. Martin?
Well, then we're gonna be able to amend an agreement that we're drafting with another party. Rob Martin, how much time do we have on this? I know you mentioned it earlier, but.
Well, as soon as we're ready to move forward with it, they're just gonna have to actually go out to the contractor and actually get current rates. So it is somewhat time sensitive to get these rates locked in.
Law Director Feitner, would it be, since it's documented on the record that we will address, because obviously it has to be an executable contract for the auditor's office, so we will resolve among the administrative team what is necessary, but because the ordinance that you are passing does not have the specific language of the contract, it is giving us the administrative authority to do that. We can pass it we can work on addressing the contract on our side because we have the authority by council to do it, which will pass the audit. So all that to say, we will work as an administration to make sure it is a kosher document and not sign things we can't sign. The ordinance as presented is sufficient.
Mr. Feitner.
Auditor Stashak, the language that you want, or that you're concerned about not being in here, I mean, if we're gonna add that into it, we're gonna need to be working with IGS on that. I mean, we can't just tell them what our terms are gonna be. So, I don't know how procedurally council wants to do that, unless we're authorizing, there's a motion to authorize a contract that contains that satisfactory language in it. If it's in it, then we can authorize it and do what the mayor's saying.
We are ready to roll call to
Roll
adopt.
call vote. All those in favor, say aye if your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
I'm confused, and the mayor's might be going with me on that.
Yeah, no, so we will, the ordinance itself does not have the specific language of the contract. It is authorizing the administration to sign a contract. What I heard from the auditor is that the auditor can't approve payment on a contract without certain language that he does not currently see. So you are saying, hey, administration, go do your job, make sure the contract is in order. We are authorizing you to do that. So you guys are good to pass tonight, and then we as the administrative team will resolve the concerns.
Contract's attached.
The contract attached technically
Does it matter if we read it or not?
the administration does have some ability to adjust it as necessary.
Okay. All those in favor of the ordinance, say aye if your name is called. With the assurances from our administrators, all those in favor say aye. After your name is called, those opposed, nay.
Mr. Holman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell? Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
Mr. Wobser?
Aye.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Nay.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye. Ordinance is adopted.
First reading for ordinance number 2025-74, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Findlay, Ohio to enroll the city of Findlay in the Bureau of Workers' Compensation Group retrospective rating plan and declare an emergency.
Old business. Ms. Fishy.
At the last council meeting, I had concerns regarding, how we are remediating property in the downtown park. Went to Park and Rec today, continue to see beautiful designs for our $40 million park, but I went ahead and sent 34. We'll see. And so my concerns, I went ahead and, as the rest of council knows, because the mayor forwarded my email, I contacted CEC to get clarification on their agreement with remediation, because they are going to a commercial standard and not residential. Through his response email, he acknowledges that if we are going to have high traffic, high child use, and we're going to have residential, that area should be taken to a residential level, which brings me to the question, our law director said that we didn't need a third party. So if we don't need a third party and we want to piggyback the county's contract for $95,000 at the current commercial level remediation, we're not meeting the standards that the city council had said they wanted. We've said from the beginning, we've used the words residential, standard, and I asked CEC what it would cost to increase that contract, and I think it was $50,000 to $75,000, and probably doubling the remediation cost. And I guess my question would be, is if we want to ensure the safety of our citizens way into the future when we're developing this park potentially, would it be wise that we have a communication with the commissioner's office to see how we can work together to change that, since there's not a contract signed? I think the commissioners are meeting tomorrow, and then I know that Matt, I thought Matt was coming, I think you were meeting with the mayor and some other folks about seeing if we take over some of the cost of helping support for that $850,000 brownfield grant. So there's a lot of moving parts, but at the end of the day, we need to make sure we are cleaning that site for the safety of our community. We don't, since we have chromium and other things there that are high cancer causing, I think if we are able to work with the commissioners, go and get that residential, then I would be in favor if that dots our I's and crosses our T's, and not getting a third party if we're going to piggyback that. So I guess, Rob, is that an option? Because I know you say we don't need a third party. You look stressed with me just asking, but I think we definitely have to address this.
I know the mayor has her hand up here. There's a lot of about this whole entire project and the way it's going to end up at the end that I understand might satisfy your question here, and I've discussed it with the mayor, and I think she's got a good answer for you.
Mayor?
Yeah, so first, I guess I would clarify, Mr. Coonfair's email stated that the contract for the brownfield remediation, as we have stated, is only required to do a commercial cleanup standard. That is just the standard as part of the grant process. That is what his current proposal is for. However, as he also stated, the standard for which the specs are written for the phase 2 benching at completion of the benching is parks and open space. And in your subsequent, when the auditor then emailed that it was put to, yes, he did. He said parks and open space, which is the appropriate standard for all parks across our communities, across the nation. It is a perfectly appropriate standard. And to further safeguard us, the benefit is that in this area, we would have been doing this as part of the benching regardless. What we have done is be proactive to clean out the contaminations in this area in a phased approach using brownfield grants. And any of the dirt that is removed, they have to find so much margin beyond any contamination they find. Then they bring in clean dirt, and they will have then the additional parks and open space restrictions. Yes, the residential standard is higher, but the parks and open space is extremely high. It is not like, hey, we're really risking cancer here if we only do it to parks and open space. So I think that that's an unfair statement. So what we are doing now, I did not participate in the meeting today, but I believe the auditor and Matt did speak with some representatives of the county today. The county is working to request the extension for the brownfield grant, which we expect for them to be able to do. They are looking then to go out to bid on the brownfield grant for this phase. If necessary, then the city will look at helping them cover. This is a reimbursement grant, so that what their challenge right now is, if they need to set aside and front the money, they have concerns about doing that out of the general fund rather than flood mitigation fund. However, I would push for them to do it. The city, that is revenue that has been generated by city and county taxpayers, and then the city has upfronted additional funds on lots of other things and set aside general fund money. I believe that the commissioners can step up and put their money aside to do this. So I think that it's important to clarify all of the things, because I think your questions were correct. I think the interpretation of his responses are different. The ultimate result is the benching will be cleaned to a parks and open space standard, which is safe for the residential developments around it. It is cleaning beyond, they're going to be cleaning far beyond just the 2-foot standard, because they have to remove any contaminated soil, as well as then test at the end of the thing. I know your other question was on a no further action letter. That can potentially be obtained. However, there's no actual state or federal agency that has required action on this property, so it would be an additional process. That is something that we are looking into. But when the benching is complete, they will complete a full another round of testing to make sure that it is safe for the purpose that we have defined it for, which is parks and open space adjacent to residential. And I have a very clean conscience that we are not going to put a contaminated park. Nobody here, and it's unnecessary to continue to say that nobody here, because they are pushing for something else, doesn't care about the safety of folks.
Okay, Ms. Fisher.
So please don't change my words. And the contract that the county has says commercial high child exposure. And yes, we are doing a brownfield grant, and yes, we are doing a level of remediation. I'll use the word, in my opinion, as a resident, as a parent, as a council person, I'll call it the cheaper route, because we're going 2 feet deep versus 10 feet deep. And you also have to think about floodwaters and pushing up those contaminants and bringing them to the surface. And I am not an expert, and you are not an expert, but if our contract reads residential high child exposure, we are better servicing the community for a park and open space. And you can't use park and open space together either. Those are 2 different meanings. So we are not the experts. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't clean it, but you're not cleaning it to that level. We're doing it to a brownfield grant, and we have knowledge from the Reinig property. We have knowledge of what is there. And you are choosing to turn a blind eye, and I just don't get it unless we don't have the money to help out.
Mr. Russell. So I'm just going to read from this email so that everybody else can hear the exact words. The question is asked of Mr. Kunther. It is known that this area along the river is designed to be a park with residential around it. Recently, over the last year, there was a property on the site known as the Reinig property that had very high levels of chromium and other toxins addressed. It resulted in digging till bedrock was hit in some areas. Mr. Kunther's response: the risks of the commercial high-frequency child exposure standards are, in my professional opinion, applicable for the planned use of this property. If residential structures are constructed on the river benching project, then the higher VAP residential standards would be more appropriate standards to use for evaluation. I am aware of the Reinig project. This property was cleaned to meet the commercial high-frequency child exposure standard. The Ohio EPA is aware of these standards. Were used for the Reinig property, and that is the email conversation that is being discussed. Mr. Stashak.
Thank you. I attended the commissioners meeting last Thursday. They asked me to deliver you guys a message that's relative to this. And I want to be careful, Mr. Russell, because we don't want to mislead the public. That's one component of a 16-plus acre parcel. It's a very minor component of it. It's the minority of the land, not the majority. Out of the 67 boreholes, there were 21 hot spots found throughout the entire place. What the county has asked me to share with you, their position is, and this was Commissioner Bateson, he asked me to bring this back to you. He said, you're welcome to attend his meeting Thursday, he would welcome you. Because what they're going to do is they're going to clean it, as Ms. Frishy has identified, to the lower standard, the less clean standard, hand it to us, and then the whole process will begin again, and it'll be then clean to the standard that we desire it to be for what we are looking for. So my concern is not the nomenclature and not the politics, but the process. It makes little sense to me that we're gonna do it twice. If you're gonna go in there and clean it, and I think, and I don't want to speak for Councilwoman Frishy, it makes more sense to clean to the desired standard up front with mutual participation. The second thing that came to light today, which I found very, very interesting, was that the county is asking us to participate, claiming they don't have the money to front the money. The interesting thing about that is they do. They have a grant. They have a fully 100% reimbursable grant. So I asked the question, and Mr. Feiner was in the room with me today. I asked the question, I said, I don't understand. Can you help me understand when we obtain a grant to do a project, we fund the project or we put it in a fund and we move forward and spend money. I declare it as revenue and I appropriate, we move forward. And they said, well, they're able to do that, but I think, and I don't want to put complete words in, it wasn't Auditor Rushberg, she was not there, but one of her staff, if I heard the words correctly, and Mr. Feiner, please correct me if I'm misinterpreting what I heard, they said, well, that's more difficult paperwork-wise for us. We'd rather the city participate. That was basically what I heard. So I don't even think there's the need at this point if we're not going to get it to the standard that ultimately we want. Now, I don't speak for you, and I told them that I was very clear I wouldn't speak for you. But it makes little sense to me. It makes a lot of sense if they're asking for participation up front, that there's agreement to what the end product is, and that's process, and not to get, again, obfuscated in the politics or the words or the nomenclature or the heat of the moment or the desire or lack of desire for a park. If we're going to clean it, we should clean it once, we should clean it right so that what we end up with is proper, and that even goes to those properties down the end of Front Street that you got legislation for now. I hope we got a phase 2 on those, because if we don't, we need to do one.
Mr. Calvin.
So I guess I got a question for Ms. Frishy and maybe Jim too. Like, so what are you guys saying? So I'm confused by what you're saying. You're saying what Mike is saying, who is the professional engineer on this, who is stating that through the Ohio Voluntary Action Program, OAC 3745300001, the rule for what his professional opinion, what that land usage should be, is what the commercial high-frequency child exposure is to that. So he's saying, as the professional for his whole profession, is he's saying that is what that should be. His title, his company, everyone rides on that. So if you guys came to me and said, hey, I'm putting in a sanitary line, I think it should be a 30-inch line, I want to say no, it needs to be an 8-inch because I'm the professional on that. Mike is the professional on this, so I guess I'm confused. Can you give me a straight answer? Are you guys wanting this to be residential, or are you saying what Mike is saying with the commercial high-frequency child exposure is wrong?
Ms. Frishy.
So, Jeremy, I feel like you're frustrated for one, and I'm not doubting. He is cleaning to a standard of the VAT. That he's not doing his job. He even recognizes in the email with the Rainick property that he cleaned to the level that it was approved by the EPA. He was very careful to say, because that covers his liability. I'm not saying he's doing something wrong. He does acknowledge in that email that when you're looking at child exposure, commercial to residential, it's how long somebody's on a property. So am I willing to say if your child or your family hangs out on the property for 30 minutes twice a day, you guys are clear of cancer? No, I'm not willing to say that. And we have the catalytic plan that shows, and Auditor Stasiak sent a response to him because he did not have knowledge that those areas are looking to have apartments on them. He sends the catalytic plan and said he didn't have knowledge. And it would be more stringent to be residential. Why would we not want to do that, Jeremy? I can understand if we weren't going to have high levels of children and families in that area. it's not about just eating dirt, it's your exposure. Rainick property used to have a fence around it because it was so toxic. I'm not an expert. You're not an expert in that either, but you are an expert in a water line that's not even close to the same thing. Not even close. The people's safety of Findlay, Ohio and Hancock County now and into the future.
Mr. Cap.
So I'm going to ask my question. You said you are not the professional, the mayor's not the professional, I'm not the professional at that. Mike is the professional on that. What he is saying, are you saying you do not believe is correct?
I believe, I agree with him that he acknowledges that residential will be more stringent. He gave a price on it and said if it's gonna have residential housing on it, that would be more stringent.
Mr.
To
Dunn,
me, that sounds like we're on the same page.
Mr. Dunn,
We're not building residential, we're not putting residential buildings inside the park. Right? Did that change? Well, there are nobody is living inside the park. And so,
Let's finish this up, as I can see the heat in the room.
I'm of the opinion we're not changing the cleanup standard, and we're going to stay with what the professionals recommend. We're not putting residential housing in the park. If we were, then you would have to go to the next level. But that is not the case.
It's the area.
We're not remediating the entire neighborhood. We're remediating our park area.
Do you have
Mr. Station, thank you. I think, again, this has got lost in confusion. The commissioners are sending a message to us. They are not cleaning to that standard, all that ground. The ground is going, they're saying, the commissioners have to read and deliver the message. So,
And I'm okay with that.
and maybe what we need to do is get a clarification here, because ultimately in the meeting today, we learned the goal is to clean to that standard. Mike Coonford says the goal is to clean to that standard, and ultimately I learned from Mr. Codania this afternoon, this morning, that we will get a letter that no further action is required. At some point, there's an opportunity to require that. I think there's just confusion, and again, my hope is that we're not doing it in two phases. So I'm not questioning the integrity of Mr. Coonford either. What I'm saying is, I'm being told something different and a message to deliver from the commissioners. Maybe the commissioners don't understand, but there's a lot of confusion here, and it probably should be cleared up.
There's no confusion.
So Matt can come forward and correct me if I'm wrong. We can wrap this conversation up because we've had it about 9 times already in the last 3 years. I would just specify that there are 2 different levels of cleanup that are going to occur at 2 different points of time. Both of them are contracted by the commissioners in essence. The first one is the brownfield, which they have to do, which is commercial standard with high exposure, okay? And I would point out that when he was asked, hey, by the way, there's residential around this and the catalytic plan, which is really just an idea, not an actual plan, even if they do that, I wouldn't change my recommendation. So I would just note that that's what he said. Second, phase 2 benching that we have a FEMA grant to complete, that is the ultimate end position of this property, will meet parks and open space standards. That is what it is required to meet based off of the FEMA grant, based off of the conversations with the commissioners. So there evidently is confusion with the commissioners. I will go to make sure that they understand there are 2 levels of brownfield, and in my opinion, yes, it would be great if we could do it all at once and mobilize. However, this is saving us taxpayer dollars. It was a grant through the state that we were able to utilize because we knew this was coming. We've been able to clean things out with raining. Otherwise, this is just local money that we would have been putting towards this project when the benching was completed regardless. And again, even in that, without the brownfield grants, we still would have had to clean it to the Parks and Open Space standard because that is the end use as defined in the documents.
Do you want Mr. Cordonier to speak?
Yeah, I'll just real quick.
Jim, in terms of, I believe the commissioners were misunderstanding. What's in the contract is commercial high frequency child exposure, which is to the level which is acceptable for a school or a daycare. So that's, and then one part of the conversation that I just wanted to add, it has always been the intent to get a letter of no further action. That was stated to FEMA, or to Ohio Department of Development in the grant agreement. And also, it's also been, once it's cleaned up, there'll be a final round of testing. Once the benching is done, there'll be a final round of confirmation testing and a no further action letter sought as part of the grant.
Okay.
One last comment, Mr. Station. We'll make it brief.
Wouldn't it be nice if you had a fiduciary who represented the interest, was an expert in the field, and said to you, this is so clear and clear, this is how it works. And I think you'd avoid a lot of this if you had a fiduciary who would take your responsibility.
We decided, thank you, Mr. Station. It's noted, but it was rejected at the last meeting.
We disagree with you, Jim.
That's fine.
Okay, any other old business? New business? Mr. Russell.
Just a quick shout out. Flag City Sluggers opening day is Friday at the Cube. The Star Spangled Banner will be sung by Gabby Faulkner, and quite honestly, to listen to Gabby sing the national anthem is worth the price of admission alone. I wish Joe Findlay and his team of interns and co-ops the best in putting on in this upcoming season. And also, you have to mention Lisa Mansfield and her team was preparing the Cube, and Lisa's probably gone prematurely gray because of the Flag City Sluggers. But grade level, we're going to have the baseball here in Findlay on a Friday night. I was informed earlier today that the mayor is in charge of weather, and so she will be prodding us no rain. But to take me up to the ballgame on Friday.
Real quick, new business. Will you show of hands that if anybody not going to be at the July 1st meeting? Mr. Palmer? Okay, I just needed to know, make sure we were going to have a quorum. Other new business? Mr. Station?
I got the numbers from city income tax. I think a number of you did. Ran the statistics on it. And we did not get, we got a better W-2 income as we were hoping, and as the income tax administrator Mary Price thought we would. That was good. However, it did not change our situation. We are currently statistically about $800,000 behind the budget projections. If that doesn't change in the next month by mid-year review, I'll be talking to you about a de-appropriation of income tax dollars from the general fund and capital improvement account.
Other new business? Mayor?
I would just mention in that same vein that I'm speaking with Mary, she is going to be providing an updated projection tomorrow. And one thing that she also noted to me is that she does also expect to de-appropriate funds later this year from her refund budget, because she had kind of overinflated that. But as we're going through the year and she's getting more information from businesses, so that will also help offset some of the funds. But we are keeping a close eye on it. I was pulling our through May performance. Our team is based off of, the month has not officially been closed, but from what was already reported, our team is trending behind budget, so they're doing a good job, and they understand continuing to look for opportunities of de-appropriation while also continuing to manage their budgets as we always expect. Thank you.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Russell, second Mr. Palmer. All those in favor of adjournment say aye. Any opposed, nay. We adjourn.